Hey, what's going on? You're listening to the Road Trip podcast, and today, my man Tom Ness and I will be talking about how to build that body of a goddess. Now, even if you're a guy listening to this, it might be helpful because then you can give good advice to women that have different questions. As well, it might be a good idea to shoot this over to your special someone or your sister or anyone that you know is interested in fitness. Um, and and yeah, let's begin. So in this episode, but before Tom, what's up? I feel like I'm ignoring you.
Thanks. I was waiting for it the whole time,
It's
but now that you've officially welcomed me to the call, what's up, man? How you
it,
doing?
it's funny. Okay, I'm feeling very relaxed. See, Tom and I just finished recording with a really big celebrity, but awesome down to earth guy. Not like Stephen Amell of the show Arrow. We just finished a podcast, and we're recording this one now. I'm like, oh my god, okay, I can relax. I can just.
You're like so much more untense right now, so much more loose
I feel
right
like I was
here.
wearing like a full body corset, and that corset's been removed.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So
And not even like it's not even a starstruck thing because I lived in LA and I met a lot of these actors, but it's just like you have like that half hour to make a good podcast, and
there's no reshooting,
yeah, there's no reshooting, there's no
the
edit,
one take
it's a
shot.
raw thing, and and you never know how they're gonna act to you. Some people will give you like the room to like express yourself. Other people will kind of be like, you know, what are you talking about? Wait, what? What's the question? I don't understand. I'm like, okay.
There's well, yeah, you've had a couple interviews like that, like okay, with Tucker Max, like we're both talking about it, but we'll just say it. So like with Tucker Max, it's like it was a very awkward interview because of that. Because it was like instead of like banter, it was almost he was expecting question answer, and just like to answer your questions instead of have a conversation, which is how we normally try to keep things. But with Stephen Amell, we could actually have a conversation, and it was really it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool just
It
rapping with
was
him
good.
about
Yeah,
Arrow. He's
it was
on the way to
fascinating.
work.
Yeah, we learned so much about how actors like kind of need to approach fitness to stay in shape because of their like your really big schedules or their crazy
Yeah.
schedules. And yeah, so with Tucker Max, I had to find common ground. Once you start talking about like the importance of learning how to fight and what that will do for you, then he started like to kind of open up. But some people have
He's
that closed door at the beginning. But yeah, so let's jump into the episode. So I mean, really, in this podcast episode, we're going to be talking about really what is the body of a goddess. What is the body that for my men's programs, I talk about the body of like the Greek god or the superhero, the warrior physique, like really the height of aesthetics. If you can train, as a natural, what's the best physique to go for, to look incredible? Well, that's what I'm approaching here with the goddess, and actually created a really awesome course. It's called the Goddess Toning Program. It's out right now. If you guys want to check it out, it's toningprogram.com. It's only been out for a few days now, and I've already got tons of great feedback. And it's stuff that I've been working, with a couple girls, and it's very effective. But anyways, so this podcast will talk about what is that body of a goddess, what's the deal with muscle tone, and can you build muscle tone, and we'll talk about why cardio, because a lot of women, they love to rely on cardio, whether it's different cycling classes or circuit classes or intervals. They love to do various forms of cardio, and we'll talk about, is it effective, like how much of a difference can it make, and then we'll talk about the best exercises to build a goddess body. So let's start with what is the body of a goddess.
Well, you tell me. What
Well,
is so? So you actually, it's interesting because a lot of your articles up until this point on Kinobody and a lot of your philosophy was primarily for guys, but you actually do a lot of training with women. So it was actually in working with a lot of women and just having so many ladies hit you up and be like, you need to create a course like for women, like because a lot of them were following your guy programs, and
yeah,
so.
you know what? There were a lot of women following my guys' programs, but like literally when they messaged me like, "Hey, I'm following the word shredding program. I'm a girl. I just want to make sure that's okay." I would give them like those tips and be like, "Okay, so here are a couple adjustments that I'd make. Here's a
Mhm.
different routine that would focus more on probably your goals." And so I mean, I've had like a number of women follow me, and because a lot of the advice is it doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl, it works. Some of the advice is more tailored towards men's specific goals, some is more tailored towards women's specific goals. But
Hmm.
the point is that, yeah, no, I've had a strong female following as well as the male following, and I was kind of waiting to for that point to be able to share my philosophy with women. And it kind of hit that tipping point where I had so many girls hitting me up and maybe telling me like they've had great results with my stuff, but they feel like they want to feel more included because they feel like it's talking to guys more so. And
Hmm.
finally, I'm like, hey, I got to share this stuff. I got to make this more receptive. And so, really, the body of a goddess is essentially the goals that a lot of women have, and when they approach fitness, is they want to look really really good. They want to look awesome in their outfit, their bikini, like just the same way men want to look great in whatever they're wearing and when their shirt's off. I mean, women want to women, when they approach fitness, they have a certain idea in mind. I've talked to a lot of girls about this, and they just, most women, they want to look feminine. They want to be fit, they want to be athletic, they want to be toned, they want to be firm, but they want to make sure that they look feminine. Um,
We're not talking like six pack here and like crazy like delt
well,
definition and
yeah, they
you
want,
know.
there's a fine line between like really nice looking definition and too much.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, yeah, so like, yeah, usually girls don't necessarily want the full six pack that like is separated. They just want that like, kind of subtle, lightly defined, abs, the line, like a little bit of a line down the middle, flat, firm. And they, obviously girls don't want to be bulky, but getting bulky isn't much of a concern as long as you stay lean. But the main areas that girls want to kind of build is like they want to have like those slim fit legs that fit well into those skinny jeans with like a great booty. But just be all around fit and just, I mean, those are kind of I mean, I know we're kind of talking in like kind of arbitrary terms, but I mean that's the kind of like body that girls have in mind. I mean, if you look at Hollywood, like a girl like Scarlett Johansson is a great example. Jessica Biel is a really great example. She's very fit. There's like Minka. I mean, there's quite a few examples in Hollywood of girls with great looking bodies, and a lot of them have actually started utilizing strength training because they know how important it is, and we'll discuss.
Even on like the higher end, like Jennifer Aniston. I mean, she's like 50 years old, but I mean, just like in totally great shape.
Yeah,
Not
Jennifer,
overdone, but compact and toned.
totally. Yeah, she is a very good example. So that, yes, I mean, essentially the idea with the body of a goddess is literally, having that, like looking like, slim, fit, feminine, having just like the perfect amount of muscle in the right places, lean muscle that is, and looking awesome in your favorite outfits and looking great in a bikini. And same way I talk to guys about like not looking like they're obsessed with fitness, not looking like they're like just absorbing their workout. Because if you get too big or you try to get like scary defined, it's too much. And so this is a certain like kind of balance. Um,
Hmm.
and and I think a lot of female actors are great role models for that because they don't scream. They don't like scream like I'm jacked. I just work out all day. It's like it's very balanced look. Um, now so I mean one of the goals that a lot of women have is they want to be toned. And a lot of workouts and nutrition advice have been sublimated to this idea of toning. This is a toning workout. This will make you toned. And so Tom and I are going to flesh out the whole concept of what is muscle tone
Hmm.
and what is the deal? What is the deal there? And so
This is
essentially,
actually what's really fun, and before we dig into it, what's really funny is if you can put this to the test. I think that the concept of toning has definitely been perpetuated by the media because if you go to any newsstand and look at the cover of any magazines, women's fitness, women's health, like anything that has to do with women and fitness, there is going to be entire sections, usually on the cover, devoted to toning and the concept of toning. And most of even the workouts that you read about, most of the workouts are complete BS. Which you'll find out, after having listened to this interview. But so the concept of toning is really a byproduct of all the media and what women are typically fed from, the new books and the new programs that are hitting the shelf, which are really more or less designed to sound good so that they'll sell more. But if you understand the underlying the principles of what produces muscle tone, then it's totally going to shift your way on how you look at things and how you approach training and cardio and everything else. So that's really what we want to flesh out right now. So some of the bigger mistakes that women make in regards to muscle tone.
yeah. Well, see, muscle tone is the result of having low levels of fat, so there's minimal fat covering your muscle, while also having a certain level of muscle development. So the whole idea is you have, a nice amount of muscle and very little fat covering the muscle. That's what creates muscle tone. Now, the mistakes people make is they try and do toning exercises, or they focus on doing very, very high reps, because high reps will tone the muscle and low reps will build the muscle bulk. I've heard numerous people explain it like this way. If you want to focus on building bulk, you do low reps with heavy weight. If you want to focus on building tone, you do light reps. And that is on every level.
Light weights with high reps.
Yeah, that's right. That is on every level completely false. You can't, as far as training is concerned, you can't actually do a certain training to tone the muscle. Toning is essentially just getting rid of the fat covering the muscle and making sure that you have a good amount of muscle there. Because if you're too skinny and you just lose the fat, you'll just look skinny. And so essentially with your training is what you can do is you can either build the muscle up or you can lose the muscle. I mean, so the idea is with exercising is to build the proper shape, build the proper proportions. That way, when you lose the fat, you actually have a great body and you look toned. But most workouts are based around trying to tone your body through some explanation that isn't actually true. Now, interestingly enough, I know I just said you can't tone a muscle with training. You can either make it bigger or smaller, and having a bigger muscle, less fat, is going to look more toned. There actually is there's actually some method to the madness that lower reps actually will create a better state of muscle tone. I know Rusty Moore, who runs Fitness Black Book, he's got some great courses. He talks about this. And it's the whole concept of ionic flow, where when you're doing low reps, you're not just building the muscle, you're building your nervous system, your ability to recruit the muscles into action. And when you have a better nervous system, you actually send stronger impulses to those muscles. And through that process, you actually get more ionic flow. And so that's almost essentially what's happening is you're almost creating partial contractions in a relaxed state. So as you get stronger, as you kind of work on building strength in the low to moderate reps, you'll actually have partial muscle contractions when you're relaxed. So that will give you the appearance of more muscle tone. It's very slight. It's not going to make a huge difference. But someone that's very out of shape, if they are at the same body fat level and then they start training, they start putting on a bit of muscle, and then they start building their nervous system, their muscles not only will get a bit, they won't just build their shape. The muscles will actually appear, more firm, and they'll be more firm. So I mean, that's not something I would completely obsess or worry about, this ionic flow thing. But it's just funny to hold, because everyone loves to play with the idea that high reps build tone, when in actuality, on a fundamental level, if that was true, it'd be low reps. And you have to put the body fat, you have to match body fat levels, because if you just do low reps and you're 30% body fat, you're not going to be toned. There's just too much fat to reveal that muscle and to reveal the state of its condition.
Yeah, and honestly, from what I've seen and from I guess everything I've seen through Kinobody, the first step in building true muscle tone really should come down to dialing in nutrition and subtracting the body fat in order to reveal the muscle. Because I've seen a lot of women that I have seen, or that I've talked to, or that that I've helped train, they don't need to build a lot of muscle. They just need to subtract body fat around the muscle to get the level of definition that they want. So
this is a very important point, and this is why nutrition is so important. And it kind of so I mean, for most people, I think almost literally most people I meet, or most people that come to my website and they ask for advice, their first step is to drop body fat, because there's very, very few people walking around with a low level of body fat. You just go to any sort of area where there's people, and you'll see that very few are actually quite lean. And so to look really good, you have to be quite lean. And so what happens is a lot of people, they want to they don't focus. Well, I mean, we're gonna kind of keep nutrition out of this episode and talk purely about training, but nutrition is so important. But a lot of people like to use cardio as a tool to get lean. I mean, Tom, like, I mean, if you go to your gym, like, how many people are on the treadmill, especially women?
Well, okay, so it's funny about that. So if you, I used to go to an LA Fitness, but since then I moved down to Florida and they don't have racquetball, my LA Fitnesses, so I had to jump gyms. But it was funny when you go into like an LA Fitness where like the whole bottom level was, there's like machine weights and free weights, and then up above you go up the stairs and it's all an open area so you can see everything, but above was all the cardio machines. And it was really funny because my buddy was like, I want you to look around, pay attention to what you see, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And he's like, you notice that like all of like the really fit women, like the women that have the bodies that other women envy, they're working out in the weights area, like weights and machines, and all the women that are more out of shape or just don't really have any tone or development or anything, they're all on the cardio upstairs. And it's like, and it was hysterical because like I looked around, I'm like, son of a bitch, he is right. Like it was like, and it was crazy. And so like then I'm like, you know, so this was like 4 or 5 years ago, but it really like set the tone for everything that I've learned through you and through Kinobody and just through, you know, independent research. So it's crazy though. So cardio, let's talk about cardio because it's such a misunderstood notion with, I think with everybody, but women in general. They think that to lose weight, it's like the first thing they do is I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day and I'm going to do an hour of cardio every single day and I am going to achieve the body I want.
Right. Okay. So, well, that is a kind of that whole idea of using extreme dieting with cardio creates a number of issues. But the first thing I think girls really need to know is that, you know, girls on average are smaller than men. They weigh less than men. They're on average about 5 inches shorter. And so because of that, women will not burn as many calories as a guy. So if a girl and a guy do the same cardio workout, more often than not, the guy's going to burn more calories simply because he's bigger. Now, if you have like a smaller guy and a woman that's taller or bigger, then yeah, she could burn more calories. But on average, women are smaller, so they don't burn that many calories when they're exercising. And so it's like, you know, if you do a spinning class, I mean, sure, the instructor's going to say, yeah, you'll burn like 1,000 calories or 800 in an hour. It's simply not true. Realistically, a girl in an hour is going to burn, you know, between 300 and if she's really pushing it, 500 calories. Now, to put that into perspective, it takes 3,500 calories to burn a pound of fat. So, I mean, you're looking at about 6 to 10 hours of exercise to drop a pound of fat. That's an enormous amount of exercise if you're a normal person that works out an hour a day. So essentially, you have to literally, like, an hour out of your day purely just to burn calories is dedicated. Like, that's what it'll take to burn, maybe if you're lucky, a pound of fat a week. So it's a lot of exercise. A single hour session is burning like very, very little. And so that's not even the issue. Like, the first thing you understand is like it takes a ton of exercise to actually burn fat. The second of which is that whenever we perform exercise, we get hungrier. So if working out doing an hour cardio is going to make you eat, you know, an extra 200, 300 calories, well then the fat loss advantage of that cardio is very, very small. And funny enough, women have more sensitive energy metabolisms. They're more sensitive to activity level, where when a woman exercises more, she'll get more hungry relative than a guy would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very interesting. And well, and even, you know, just because, like, let's say you jump on a treadmill or, you know, an elliptical or something for an hour, and it says you burn 300-400 calories. First of all, like, your actual like energy expenditure is probably going to be less than that. So you probably don't burn the full 300 to 400 calories. Second of all, if you have a frappuccino at Starbucks, or if you have, like, let's say a drink with just, let's say you have like an iced latte or something like that, like a grande, they're usually around the 250 calorie range, plus or minus. Like, okay, let's say you go sugar free, for example, or like a skinny latte, something like that. It's still between 150 to 200 calories. So if you have one of those in a day that you work out, you basically just like severely handicap that whole hour of cardio that you just did. So, you know, it really is like an input-output equation here. And, you know, the first thing is like, first of all, you have to know, like, you have to understand, like, how much that cardio is actually doing for you in terms of energy expenditure and calorie burning. But then also, like, subtle things that you may be doing throughout the day that sabotage that that negate the work that you do during that session.
Right. And like just because you do 2 hours of cardio per day does not mean you're going to lose weight. If you take in more calories than you're burning, you will gain weight. So some people actually gain weight when they do more cardio because they get hungry, they eat more, and then because they broke their diet and they ate more than they wanted to, they feel guilty and they eat even more. And then they binge eat, and then they try and diet strict for 3 days, and then they binge eat again, and then all of a sudden they're gaining 4 pounds a month. That happens actually, and so yeah, it's important to realize that just because you're doing cardio doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. As well, I mean, Tom, I mean, you know, like all the advice that's in the magazines and everywhere on the internet, it's like, oh, pre-workout nutrition, oh, post-workout nutrition. You hit both of those, you actually gain weight from that workout because you ate more around the workout, like to work out. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have like this shake before and then also this shake after, and then you took in 400 calories and you only burned 300, and now you're, you know, you because of that workout you create a 100-calorie surplus.
There's actually, dude, that's really funny because, like, so right now the only thing that I really take supplement wise is a BCAA, because I train typically fasted. Like, I wake up, I train at about like 10 a.m. and I don't eat until between like 12 to 2, depending. But I have, like, the protein powder that I have is 130 calories, and the bottle has since run out. But there's some days that, like, I don't even take protein after I work out because like right now I'm on a cut, so I'm having 1,900 calories. It's pretty aggressive. You know, I'm trying to make a big change in a shorter period of time. So in a 3-month period, I'm having like about an average of 1,900 calories per day. And that protein shake after my workout is 130 calories, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I only have 1,900 for the day. So if I have a big lunch and a big dinner and a snack at night, it really doesn't leave room if I want to hit a deficit with having that protein powder. But
Right.
there's some people that have a shake before they work out, a shake after they work out, and so by outside of their meals and snacks, they're already having like 400 to 500 calories. And so they don't think about it because it's like, oh, you know, it's a protein shake. Of course I'll have it after I work out because that's what the magazines are telling me to do. But when you factor in, you know, and we want to keep this more to working out than nutrition, I get it, but small things add up, you know, and so right now I would rather cut the protein out of my post-workout shake, quote unquote, and just save that extra 130 calories to have a bigger meal.
Yeah, the question that I try and create, and I want everyone to start asking this, I want the fitness industry to start telling, is like, okay, if the goal is to get lean, the goal is to lose weight, the goal is fat loss, how do I make eating less most enjoyable?
Mm-hmm.
If I burn 2,500 calories and I want to, you know, lose a pound a week, how do I make eating 2,000 calories most enjoyable? And taking in 400 calories around your workout when you're not that hungry, okay, once you go to the gym, you start working out, as long as you weren't starving before, once you go to the gym, you're working out, especially if you have a bit of caffeine, you don't need food. Your body's programmed and designed to be able to execute top performance with low levels of calorie intake before. This is how we are here. This is how we survived. We had to like hunt animals when we were starving. We still have like the same, you know, genetics and gene code as our hunter-gatherer ancestors. So don't need to eat something before. You don't even need to have protein before your workout. Like the nutrition, the supplement kind of advice is crazy. But
which we are fully going to flesh out in probably one of the next couple episodes. So
that's right. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe now. But the whole concept is you do not have to eat around your workout. The only time you may want to eat around your workout is if you're working out multiple times a day. But most people are not. So if the goal is to get lean, and even the goal is to get lean and maintain muscle, how do you make eating less as enjoyable as possible? So get rid of those pre-shakes, get rid of those post-shakes, and literally eat food when you want to. Eat food for your actual meal times, you know, your big lunch or your lunch and your dinner. Because if you trade that shake, which literally sometimes sometimes in the past I drink a shake and I get hungrier. I'd be like, you know, I want to eat more.
Yeah.
It's cool because it would open that floodgate where I want to eat. So
we'll save the money that you would spend on those supplements that probably aren't really working anyway, and spend that money instead, designate it on like higher quality food. So
Yeah.
more vegetables, better like leaner cuts of meat, and that's going to go the distance, and it's going to keep you more like full and satiated, much more than the protein powder or much more than your pre-workout shake.
Yeah, and if anyone listening, like this advice applies to both men and women. But we're
Hmm.
trying to speak to the women right now because I think it's important we do one of these because it's But yeah, the idea is like you eat like how do you make eating less most enjoyable? That's the frame of mind you want to come from,
Hmm.
and very few diet books ever bring up this question. This is what I had to kind of ask myself once I realized that all like years and years ago that all these stupid rules I was trying to follow, was trying to like be correct, were just making fat loss 10 times harder. And the only thing that mattered for me when I was getting lean was when I was eating less than I was burning. And when I did that, I would lose fat. And then when I tried to stick to all these rules, it just make it more complicated. I'm like, hey, I need to make this enjoyable. What do I need to do? And getting rid of those shakes and stuff makes it easier.
Hmm.
Because then you can
Definitely.
get more full when you eat your meals. You can
Hmm.
have like an extra quite a few ounces of meat or potatoes. Um, and so, anyways, so yeah, so cardio and I mean the last thing I want to bring up with this cardio thing is that the interval training, circuit training thing, boost your metabolism for 36 hours is not quite. The research doesn't support it. You're not going to be able to elevate your metabolism, to gargantuan levels.
That's a big one.
They,
That's why people do P90X and they do cycling 3 days a week or 4 days a week. It's why they do all those, this crazy intensity interval classes. But not just that, but it's like all those like hour-long cardio sessions that they do like day after day. It's just, I mean, the evidence just doesn't support it. So I don't know why, But again, it's perpetuated by the media, and it sounds really good. Like if you're beating yourself up this much, and you have to sweat this amount in order to make progress, then that they buy into it.
yeah, I mean, if you want to know if you have a fast metabolism, well, if you're sitting down, if you are breathing fine, you're in almost a resting state. So your body's not going to use that much energy. Doesn't matter if you did like a huge, intense interval workout this morning. If you're fine now, you're not going to be burning that much energy. The sign that you're burning a lot of calories is when you're moving, is when you have to breathe heavier. You have those increased oxygen needs. Your heart rate's faster. So I mean, the whole idea that like this workout you did, the next day you're burning more because of it, is false. Most of the research shows that if you're doing like a really intense workout, you might be able to burn about 14% of the calories that you burn during the workout. So you burn 300 calories from a workout, then maybe you'll burn an extra, 40, 45, 50 calories, which is small. Um, and and yeah, and actually, just to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier with the post-workout shakes, actually, one thing I find helpful is if I'm actually hungry after my workout and I have a couple hours until I'm eating my next meal, I find an apple or a piece of fruit actually is like 80 calories. I'll eat it, and it'll actually satisfy me for a couple hours
Hmm.
because it replenishes those liver glycogen levels. That if the liver glycogen levels are low, it will trigger hunger, and then if you fruit does a good job at replenishing that because it has, good amount of fructose, it will actually, help stave off hunger. But yes, so yeah, basically you can't really boost metabolism from cardio. Strength training is extremely effective because let's say Tom, okay, this is for girls, or let's say someone is listening and they're 160 pounds, they want to be 140. If they were just to diet and do cardio and get down to 140, they wouldn't lose 20 pounds of fat. They would lose a portion of fat and a portion of muscle.
Hmm.
And so because people assume I lost 20 pounds, I lost 20 pounds of fat. It's not true. There's going to be some muscle loss because if you don't train your muscles, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I mean, if you diet and just cardio or diet and don't do any cardio, um, or sorry, if you just diet and cardio, diet no cardio, but you're not strength training in both scenarios, you're going to lose some muscle. So maybe you lose 15 pounds of fat, but then 5 pounds of lean body mass. So that,
Hmm.
the diet to take off 20 pounds only took off 15 pounds of fat. Whereas if you strength train, you can actually maintain all of that muscle. Some of my clients and some of my people follow my programs actually gain muscle, and then they and lose all that fat. And so in that scenario, strength training is actually the better tool to maximize fat loss because it helps you retain lean body mass, and when you retain lean body mass, you lose more fat. That makes sense?
It does.
Yeah, for like the listeners, I don't want to lose anyone behind, but all you have to know is that strength training will help you maintain muscle, and when you maintain muscle and you lose weight, you're losing just fat. So strength training is very important. There's one type of activity that I really like. I mean, see, for me, it's like the best approach is strength train 3 days a week, so you're fully recovered, you can make good progress, and then on the other days, you don't necessarily have to do a cardio workout, especially if it's going to increase your appetite, but just some activity, some walking, just to get your movement up, just to burn a bit more calories. Walking has been shown to have a neutral effect on appetite, so you can actually burn calories with walking without eating them back, without getting hungrier on your diet, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Yeah,
experience with
absolutely.
that, Tom?
Well, so first of all, like knowing that doing more intense cardio is going to ramp up your hunger, if you even want to do hunger, period. Obviously I'm totally on board with strength training. Matter of fact, Emily is so my wife Emily, she has been a guinea pig for a lot of the concepts in the Greek Goddess program, or for the Goddess Toning program, and which is the new women's course you have out. And
ToningProgram.com, you can check it out.
yeah, toningprogram.com. Check it out. And actually, and if you want, can I drop her site so they can read her
Yeah.
review, because she goes over like totally in depth. So if you go to cookinguphappiness.com slash toning program, you can read her review. I'm gonna have to hold on, I gotta make a note to set that up because that redirect is not live yet. So toning program. So
it's live if you're listening to this.
it's live if you're listening to it. So cookinguphappiness.com slash toning program. Go there and read her review on it, because she was following the program for about 4 months, saw awesome results. In fact, there's a before and after shot of her progress up until this point.
And she was doing like a completely like really intense workout nutrition program before.
Yeah.
And she wasn't doing that much progress.
Yeah, and so it was crazy. So she was doing like 4 to 5 days a week with just like this like body weight circuit kind of training, and she was sweating really bad after every workout. She was like sore all the time, and but she wasn't getting the results that she wanted. And so like meanwhile, I'd been following the Warrior Shredding program of yours, and I was getting really good results. And she's like, what do I do? Kind of beating her head against the wall, couldn't figure out what to work for. And so that was like kind of around the same time that you were developing the workouts behind the Goddess Toning program. And so she started doing those just kind of as a guinea pig to see like, if they were really that effective as opposed to the body weight circuit training. And in the span of 4 months, she has seen more results than she has with 5 years of training the other way. So it's just like, it's ridiculous how impressive and how fast of a transformation you can make if you're a woman. Well, if you're a guy too, but especially if you're a woman, if you ditch the bodyweight circuit training and the cardio, the long intensive cardio sessions, and focus on strength training and just trying to push heavier and heavier weights with a progression, progressive overload, either trying every day, trying to either, bump up your weights or, hit the top end of the rep range in your workout. And so focusing on that, shifting your focus to weight training versus body weight stuff, has had such a profound impact. And you can read not only her experience on the program, but you can see the results that she's had. So it's really, really impressive, and I'm so proud of her because she's totally into it now, dude. Like she's, we plan out all of our meals, and she's also creating, most of the recipes in the Kino Chef, which is the upcoming Kino cookbook. And so following nothing but the Kinobody workout program and eating meals that are Kinobody meals, she's completely changed her body. So
yeah,
it's really cool to see. But
pictures. You guys should check the pictures out. Cooking Up Happiness. Not Cooking Up Unhappiness. CookingUpHappiness.com/.
Everything over here. So it's pretty cool. But so that's the power of strength training, and it would probably be good to talk about the best strength training exercises for building a goddess physique.
Right, and just like I know, just Tom was talking about like increasing the weight, and it's good to increase the weight, if the girl's listening. Because if you're leaning down, you're doing proper nutrition to drop fat, increasing the weight will just mean that you're gonna maintain your muscle or even build your muscle slightly. And it's important to put on a little bit of muscle to have that proper shape. Girls don't really need to worry about building too much muscle. It's very hard to build muscle for guys. Guys are lucky to build 2 pounds of muscle per month when they're beginning. As they're advanced, that's not going to happen. Girls are lucky to do half of that. So in a month of good training, you might build like a pound. When you're first starting out, because you're actually retaining more glycogen and stuff, it might be higher. But the point is that increasing the weight will help. And the way I set up the Goddess Toning program is that it's essentially that perfect amount of volume. So as you're getting stronger, you're just going to see like more, kind of more density. Like your muscles will be more firm. And if you're like, you just build that perfect shape. And so like the best exercises to build a great body, well, see, there's a lot of fitness women that have their own workouts and stuff, and there's this whole question of like, should men train differently than women? And like I know an important goal that a lot of women have is like it depends on the person, because some women literally are very skinny, they just need to add more muscle, but other women are like worried that they're going to get their thighs too big, because men and women are more closely matched in terms of muscle potential in their legs as men, and women are have about 40% of the ability to build muscle in their upper body as men. So women have a very, very hard time building muscle in their upper body, but in their thighs, a lot of women can build up their thighs. And so I know some girls, if they do a lot of strength training, they might add a bit too much size to their thighs. And so the way I recommend approaching leg training is just to do a few, maybe just do a couple leg exercises a workout like twice a week, and focus on exercises that hit the butt the hardest, because girls want to keep their legs fit, firm and slightly slim. They want to keep them fit, firm, and slim, and so exercises that hit the butt the hardest will help build up that butt, so you have that booty or like that perky butt, without adding too much size to the thighs. And those exercises are stuff like step-ups, always like keeping that weight on the heel. That really engages the glutes. Forward lunges, where you lunge, take a deep lunge forward, and then you push back to standing position. That brings in tons of glutes. If you do squats onto a box, you really sit back and your weight's on your heels. That hits the butt very hard. Like sumo deadlifts with like that wide stance and you get low, really hits the butt hard. I mean, those are my favorites for really, building great lower body, really building a great booty. Actually, funny enough, like my girlfriend is like, Greg, I wanted like actually this is a funny story. My girlfriend wants like me to have like a great ass, and so I've kind of been like just maintaining a good amount of leg size because I don't like having huge legs. So I've actually been experimenting this on myself, and my booty is awesome. I will.
That's great to hear.
I know it's yeah. I've been like doing because that's like an important goal that girls have. Sometimes when girls follow a lot of these strength training routines, there's too much leg volume. They're doing like just a lot of leg work, and a lot of leg work that's very quad dominant, and so their jeans get tighter on their legs, and like that's a big issue for a lot of girls. They don't want that. They don't want their legs to get bigger. And so when you slim down and focus on proper nutrition to lose fat, and you train on these exercises that really work the butt and just kind of strengthen the thighs just enough, well then, I mean, you create this awesome lower body where you're slimming down. Your thighs are getting slimmer because you're dropping the fat, and girls store a lot of fat in their thighs because of their genetic, their differences. Hormonal differences. They store more fat in their thighs. So as you lean down, slim down, you drop that fat in your thighs. You get your legs like really firm and toned because you're supporting that proper amount of development. But then like most of that you're experiencing like the biggest change in your butt. Like your butt is going to pop up. And then also those are my 4 favorite exercises, like the proper step ups, the lunges, the box squats, and the sumo deadlifts.
Yeah. It's awesome. What about for
upper body?
Talk about like a couple upper body
Mm-hmm.
workouts or exercises.
Okay, well I just want to say like because I know a lot of girls want to build that great booty, and so they do like a lot of these high rep stuff, like fire hydrant circles, like these booty like lifts, leg lifts and stuff. It doesn't work. If trust me, I could do that all day. My butt would probably get smaller. If you want to build a great butt, you have to get stronger in exercises that work it. That's the bottom line. And for the upper body, like same way like men work the upper body, I think women should. They don't need to do that much that much volume, that many exercises, that many sets, that many reps, but just keep their body, functional and all around, fit and strong. Just like the basic core movements, the overhead shoulder presses, you know, chest like bench press or incline press with like dumbbells, pull downs, rows to help support great posture, build the back. I mean, some girls like it's actually you actually want to have that nice shoulder to kind of hip ratio, shoulder waist hip ratio. And so if girls have too narrow shoulders, like they'll need to like kind of create that. I mean, Jessica Biel's a great example. She has an awesome like kind of upper body development, but it looks feminine. It looks really good. So yeah, you know, your pushes, your pulls, you know, some if you need like kind of add a bit of muscle to your arms just to make them more firm, less flabby, while dropping fat. Then like you know leg, you know tricep extensions, some curls, and then you know a lot of like planks and stuff and ab wheel rollouts are great for building like a super solid core that's rigid and taut. Strengthens that TVA, the inner deep abdominals, so your stomach doesn't just kind of fall into a pooch. That's helpful. Those are all stuff I include in the program at TonyProgram.com. But yeah, that's like kind of what I would definitely recommend and suggest.
Actually, so what other ab work? Because that's I think that's a big misconception too. It's like you see people, I mean guys and girls that are like enormously overweight and all they're doing is like cable crunches or like all they're doing is like the ab crunching machine, and it's like without any regard to diet or anything else. So what are what are ab exercises that actually work, and like explain about like training abs. I mean, not like totally in depth or anything, but just the concept of training abs. If they need their own day, if you throw in a couple exercises at the end of a workout, and some of the more effective ab exercises.
Right. I mean, just like men, women want to have a great stomach, and so a lot of times they get focused really on working their abs. They want their abs to look better, but most of that comes down to, of course, dropping the fat, and that's mainly through proper nutrition. And their ab exercises can help to add that little bit of to get that little bit of development so that it actually shows some definition.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorites are like leg lifts, like lying leg raises, hanging like knee raises or hanging leg raises, which kind of works the abs really well without causing like the back pain, the postural issues. A lot of crunches, sit-ups, forward flexion will actually not do that much for the abs, but it'll also actually destabilize the spine and lead to poor posture. So for me, it's all about the leg lifts and planks and stabilization exercises like ab wheel rollouts. That will help develop a great core and keep your core very strong, functional, and solid.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. So that covers so abs, upper body, lower body. It was a pretty good list. And to be fair, there was on Kinobody.com. There's a pretty recent blog post that has a beginner workout for women that they can use to incorporate a lot of these movements, and just basically like a totally refreshment from a lot of the workouts that they'll see in magazines or in books. So I would recommend checking that out. But we have bigger news.
Mm-hmm.
Dot dot dot.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah, I finally created my first women's course, which is I'm so excited I did it because I've actually had a lot of women follow me, especially on the podcast and etc. And so I'm super stoked about it, and I've gotten great feedback. It's called the Goddess Toning Program, and basically it's like my approach with females that want to build that great looking body. They want fitness and nutrition to be something that's enjoyable and fun. It doesn't take over their life. And you guys can learn about that at ToningProgram.com, but it's essentially my approach for training nutrition with women to build that body that they want. And I've teamed up with a great personal trainer and coach in Australia, Del Farrell. She's in an awesome shape. She's very evidence-based. She knows her stuff. And so we kind of worked on some of it together. And we have this awesome motivational mindset chapter to really, internalize these changes and make that process into your reality, to something that you actually follow through, stick with. Because it's so easy for all of us to kind of say we're going to do something and then we fall short. It's like, how do we actually stick with it? How do we there's so many, you could do the best work in the world, but if you're not doing it, if you're not following the nutrition, it's not going to work. How do we make this, permanent change?
Yeah, well, and something that we haven't done before is we open up a private Facebook group for people that have the Goddess Toning program. So there's now Well, there is a Kinobody forum that you can introduce yourself in, and there's a lot of good questions in there, and a lot of conversation. But the Facebook group is really cool because it's specifically basically for women that are going through the Goddess Toning program. So as you're going through the program, if you need support, you and Dell are both in there, answering questions and everything, helping people out. But there's a lot of motivation going on as well. So if you want to join basically like a group of women that are going through this program together, that's a great way to get support and motivation as you go through it. So you don't have to do it alone, and that's really cool. That's something that we wanted to add to this. So not only do you get like the full program, which is going to be way different from anything that you've probably ever tried before, but you can go through it with a group of people that are like literally doing the same program as you. So it's pretty cool how we set it up.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Dale and I are both quite active in the Facebook group. There's a lot of great questions, a lot of supportive people, and it's something that helps just to have that accountability, just to have that place where if you have questions, you can get them answered, and so you know with certainty that what you're doing is correct, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, everybody can check that out at toningprogram.com. And Greg, if they have any questions, they could probably just hit you up, and you'll answer everybody any questions that come in.
I try and tell people, like, literally, if you can say it in one paragraph, try and say it in one paragraph. Because some people like to send me essays. I'm like, hey, look, I really want to read this, but I have to answer 100 other questions today, and can you try and send it again, but in one paragraph? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what that's kind of
yeah.
That's just all I ask is, like, if you can say it in less words, say it in less words, because then it's harder when you're reading the full essay. You're like, okay, wait, what was the question that they had? I don't know.
It's hard because there's several questions embedded in the longer responses, and so you have to read through it and then answer it and then like read back through it and make sure that you answered everything that they asked, and it takes a long time, and times that by 100 other questions, and it's pretty time intensive. But regardless, if you do have any questions, just let us know. But check it out. It's totally, months of development have gone into this, and it's probably the most comprehensive program that I've ever read for women, and my wife is absolutely loving it, and she's getting some really, really good results. So I can't say enough good things about it, obviously. I'm following the Kinobody. I'm following the shredding program. She's following the Goddess Toning program, and we're both in some of the best shapes of our lives. So It's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. All right. And I was doing the Greek God program a few months ago, and now I'm back on the warrior shredding program as well. So
good.
I'm really shredding it up because I want to know, like, Greg, what program are you doing? And so I maybe for a couple months I'll do Greek God and then warrior shredding and then superhero. Right now the superhero, I'll probably start that up in a few months when I'm like really ready to push it, because it's more intensive from a workout standpoint. Yeah. So all right. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and thank you. Till the next episode, and that was toningprogram.com if you want to check out the program. Yeah. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.